And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, live on the Philippe Matthews Show after hours. I am so honored. I am so privileged to have met this man, to know this man, and to bring him live to you now around the world and then subsequently on our YouTube channel. Walter D. Smith, ladies and gentlemen, wrongfully incarcerated for 11 years. He was the first person to file a formal motion seeking DNA testing from prison September 13th, 1988. Denied access, actually, to the new forensic pathological testing 9 times over 8 years. Walter eventually got his break by and through the efforts of attorneys and specifically WBNS TV 10 news anchor Jerry Revish, excuse me. December 6, 1996. And then, of course, he was exonerated, and he is here to tell his story about coming from the hood to the good. I love you, brother. Welcome to the show, man.
I love you too, my brother. And that's something that we need to practice more in the Black community, and we need our young males to hear us, because if we don't show love for one another, then we end up showing a lot of hate for one another.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's start from the beginning. I mean, you called me actually because you sent me an email because you saw a show I did with one of my mentors, Kabahia Wafakamane from Hidden Colors.
Yes.
And I said, well, anybody who's commenting on that, got to be a good guy. Reached back to you, and then you called me and you shared just on the voicemail your story in, like an elevator pitch, and I was blown away. I was like, what? Oh my God. I'm saying to myself, why aren't you a household name? Why aren't you on CNN, MSNBC, all of these shows as a news pundit that shows life after incarceration? What happens when you're wrongfully accused and charged? What happens when you are able to rebuild your life? And what happens in terms of police brutality and what have you? But I want you to tell your story.
Thank you.
Because you also had a drug addiction. You had so many things. Walk me through what you shared with me at the beginning when we first started talking.
Well, Brother Philippe, the first thing that comes to mind as you say that, a lot of people, when I get done speaking, say, we are amazed that you're not bitter. And my immediate response is absolutely not, I'm better. They say, well, do you hold any animosity or anger towards the people that did this to you? And I say, well, I wouldn't be human or natural if I did not hold a little bit of both. However, I can never be as angered at the powers that be as I am angered at me, myself. And the reason being, I made the choice, which is what my program is called for children in school, choices. I made the choice at about age 12 to smoke the first cigarette. I made the choice at about age 14 to have that first drink of liquor and to smoke that first joint of weed. I made the choice at about age 15 to run that first line of cocaine and take black beauties. I made those choices to stymie my physiological growth process as an adolescent, to ruin myself. And that's why we have so many problems in our community, is because we do not examine and get to know ourselves and thoroughly analyze, because oftentimes we overanalyze and over-intellectualize our situation. So for me, before I would point the finger at the system and say how wrong they were to Walter Smith, I had 4 fingers pointing back at me. I had to do a self-examination and find out that at that very, very young age, that's when I made my mistake. So I was more angered at myself than I could ever be at the establishment for doing what they did to me when I made myself available for the system.
Let me ask you this. What was the catalyst that drove you to drugs and self-abuse and self-destruction in the first place as an adolescent?
Interesting question. I came from a very well-to-do background. My dad was gainfully employed. I was born in 57. I've been 28 for the last 30 years. I don't get no older. I only get gooder. That's a word that I created.
I'm taking that myself. You're going to have that for the show, but after that, that's mine, brother.
Yes, I got it from my mom, bless her heart. But yeah, I've been 28 for the last 30 years, so I'm 58 years of age. and never had a babysitter. My mother was a homemaker or domestic engineer. My mother prepared every meal we ever had, never saw a babysitter. We ate 3 meals a day. Dad worked 2 jobs, worked very hard. Everything that we wanted, we had. Woke up one day and my dad was alcoholic. Didn't see it coming, didn't hear it coming, never saw the man drink or smoke. Then we started seeing signs of both. And then all of a sudden, probably when I was around 12-ish, right in there, his life just fell apart. That was devastating. It's one thing to have it and lose it than to not have it and lose what you never had. You can't miss what you never had. So coming from a relative background, and then you wake up one day and it's all gone. And then you look at your dad, who I love dearly. The foundation fell out. Well, now you start looking around for other role models. You start looking around because it's innate. You start looking around for peers, or you start looking for other sources. You start looking for love in the wrong places. My kinfolk were elite dope dealers in Kansas City, Missouri. So rather than me going on the football field and continue to run the football, running track, playing sports, I became a very good dope dealer in high school and made plenty of good money starting in the 10th grade. And instead of keeping my GPA over 3.75 in my last 2 years of school, I did absolutely nothing and still graduated. But by the time I graduated high school, I was making minimum $500 a week back in the 70s, selling marijuana in school, and then, of course, whatever jobs that I could pick up. It wasn't hard for me to make $1,000 a week back in the 70s between working and selling drugs.
And this was where? Where were you from?
I was born and raised in Kansas City, Missouri.
Kansas City, Missouri. Okay, so here you are in the 70s, making, which is still to this day, a lot of money. So right. You can imagine in the 70s, you were considered a millionaire. You were right. living it high. All right. So you became this drug dealer.
Mm-hmm.
Where did the story shift where you became so addicted? I believe, was it you that was telling me that it was $100,000 drug addiction at some point?
Absolutely. Yes. I got busted in Kansas City, Missouri. Traffic tickets that I had not paid. Got pulled over for some traffic violations because I was extremely cocky. For instance, when we would go to high school basketball games, I would always park right next to the venue, next to the fire hydrant. So when a lot of cops found out that I was parking next to the fire hydrant, they would put a ticket on my car. Well, I'd take the ticket and throw it away. I would do the same thing when I go to the Kemp Arena. And by far, brother, we got to mention Prince's passing too, because he just passed today. Yes. But yes, my very first concert that I ever went to at the Kemp Arena in Kansas City, Missouri, when it was first built, was to see Earth, Wind & Fire. Well, chances are when I went to that concert, everybody else had to park somewhere where they had to walk a long way. Well, I parked in front of the fire hydrant. It was always guaranteed parking. I'd come out, there's a ticket on the car. I'd ball it up and throw it away. So when the cops finally busted me for all these tickets that had piled up, I'll pay the tickets, but they called me over to another room. They laid a manila folder in front of me. They opened the folder and asked, do you know anything about these 4 dope houses? And I felt the sweat run down the back of my neck and down my back because all 4 of them were mine. My parents' home, my home, and 2 dope houses that my right-hand man and I had created just for selling dope. So they told me, they said, well, I told them I didn't know anything about it. They said, well, we think you're doing, we think you're lying. All this is in my book, by the way. So they said, you have one of 2 choices. Either you handle what we have for you or get the hell out of Dodge. That's when I moved to Columbus, Ohio. My mother had kept trying to get me to stop selling drugs, go to college, but I would always pull that wad out of my pocket and say, Mom, I already make money. I don't need to go to college. I know everything, right? So I moved to Columbus, Ohio, joined the church choir, community choir, became a community activist at age 20-ish, 21. And a friend came over and asked me to go in with on a half ounce of marijuana. I smoked the whole joint, didn't even get buzz. And that light bulb went off, went back to Kansas City. Fast forward, my last trip to Kansas City, I picked up 25 pounds of marijuana, came back to Columbus, ended up being a lieutenant at a very sophisticated organization. We had a house down in Atlanta. We designed 2 cars to go to Atlanta. We had 2 cars in Atlanta with Georgia tags, go down to Florida. Each one would put a bell in each one and bring the bell back to the house in Atlanta, break them down into 200-pound bags, bring them back up to Columbus. I'm now selling 25 pounds of weed a week and 5 pounds of cocaine.
Wow.
The problem was I didn't have a business for the cocaine. So I have all this cocaine looking at me. I went from snorting casually maybe $25 worth of cocaine a week to freebasing $500 a week. So it didn't take long for me to go through a $100,000 habit. Matter of fact, I went through that $100,000 habit in about 9 months. And I owed a lot of money in the streets, which was to the main person over me. He was the captain of the organization. He put a $10,000 contract out on my life. Of course, he really didn't want to kill me because I really made it. It was a very, very sensitive connection there. From the business side, he had to put the contract out, but on the other side, he loved me like a son. So eventually when I got out of prison, I found out that the reason he lifted, apparently, the hit on me was because of the love he had for me as a son. I made him who he was. I insulated him very well. My organization moved more marijuana and cocaine than the other 10 people in his organization. He trusted me quite a bit. I insulated him very, very well. That's the first thing I did when I got involved. But all the pressure, looking over the back, I had a very, very good friend of mine tell me that he and his partner were going to rob me. They were going to shoot my dog, kick the door, and kill me and rob me. Told me that to my face. So now I'm even more paranoid. And I wouldn't move without snorting or freebasing cocaine. I did try to get help, and they told me I needed $5,000. So I don't have $5,000. So you don't have no insurance. I don't have no insurance. And so then, the woman asked me, well, how much did you have today? I said $500 a day. Well, Mr. Smith, if you quit getting high for 10 days, guess how much money you'd have? Well, bitch, if I could quit getting high for 10 days, I wouldn't need your monkey ass. I went from there and I went out and started doing robberies.
This obviously your story is going to have to be a movie because there's elements of it that just sounds like I've seen this movie before.
Yes.
All right, so now you have a cocaine addiction, and for the people watching, is that no, we're not glorifying drug dealing, selling, right, using. We're actually getting to an entire story because this is just the beginning, where you kind of go into you're in the wrong crowd, you're in the wrong life and the wrong lifestyle. So, how does the incarceration, the wrongful accusation of rape, come into play? Are you addicted when this happens, and selling still when this happens, or is this another phase of transition in your life?
One of the things about the universe, everything physics, everything that goes up comes down. 9.5 out of 10 people involved in the drug game are going to lose. Only half of one person is going to win. You're going to lose through addiction, getting killed, or to the penitentiary. Fortunately for me, I went to the penitentiary. My oldest brother got killed at 24. 4 guys that I played boys club football with got killed. My right-hand man, my best friend, all of that, messing with the streets, alcoholism. So to answer your question directly, I couldn't get no help. Found a good job selling brand new cars, and I was selling the hell out of them. I outsold everybody. And they kept me in a new car for the 4 weeks I was there. Every time I got my paycheck, I went and smoked it up in cocaine. The last time I went out and did a robbery, the guy pulled a 9mm out on me. I'm ready to die. I had been suicidal a couple of times, had a .357 to my head, had an all-white German Shepherd who looked at me and said, come on, man, you ain't getting ready to go out like that, is you? I said, no, man, I'm not. He said, if something happened to you, who in the hell gonna take care of me? My dog saved me. Spell dog backwards. What do you come up with?
God.
All day. So my dog saved me because I was getting ready to pull the trigger. Brand new .357. Right here. Dog. Come on, man. Don't go out like that. Took the gun down. I had to go on through the fire. Went into the filling station. Guy pulled a 9mm out. He was from where you are to me. I told him to give me the gun. He wouldn't shoot me. He gave me the gun. Now I got a gun. I turned the gun back around and told him this is a robbery, give me your money. 2 weeks later, took the clip out, went and did the second robbery. The guy didn't see the clip in the gun. Told him to give me the money. He said no. Give him the money. He said no. I turned around. My high went away. I decided then I couldn't do it no more.
Interesting.
I parked too far away. So
you took the clip out the gun. You had no intentions of harming or killing, but it was all about intimidation and fear.
Absolutely. I just wanted another hit on the pipe.
Wow.
Right.
And when he dared you,
Absolutely.
You said, you know what? That's it.
I tried to open the register. I couldn't. I hit it with the gun. It still wouldn't open. I said I wanted to shoot it, but I didn't have a clip. I wanted just another $150. That's all I needed to go in the pipe. So I walked away. My high immediately ran away because all the robberies that I had done up to that point, I got good money. Good money. So on the way back to the car, I was only about 90 feet away from the car. And I crossed an intersection. And a cop at the other end crossed the same intersection with his headlights off. But his spotlight hit me. I got in the car and started to pull off. Well, by that time, he done sped up and he's in front of me. I take the pistol and throw it under about 4 of the cars. He jumps out with the riot gun, shaking like a leaf. So I put my hands on the steering wheel. Then the other cops came. They had me down on the ground. Maybe you move one muscle, will blow your brains out. I did not move. All I could think about is God done saved me. Can y'all hurry up and get them handcuffs on my black ass? Take me to jail and get this cocaine out of me because I'm thinking they're going to get me drug treatment. So yes, I was arrested on July 18th, 1985. I spent 17 days in the county jail. A very good friend of mine, Gail Davis, my accountant to this day, she bonded me out. The whole time I was out between July 18th and October 13th of 85, I did not use cocaine again. The police are following me, but I'm still working dope deals, trying to come up with enough money to get a good attorney to stay out of the penitentiary. When they rearrested me,
fascinating because you're still in the life, but you're drug free now, but you're still in that's the only source of income that you have.
I come up with the money to pay the attorney. I don't have nobody to call because I done used everybody. I done used my family.
You done burned through everything. Yeah.
Everything. I've taken money out of my mother's savings account. And until her dead death, my name was right back on her savings account. I've burned everybody. My uncle, my aunt, neighbors, everybody. No one's going to touch me. Yes, so when I was rearrested, the detectives came over to see me late one night and said, Mr. Smith, you know anything about any dead bodies? I said, no. You know anything about any murders? I said, no. You know anything about any rapes? I said, no. Well, you're a suspect. I said, a suspect for what? He said, rape. I looked him right in the eyes and said, come on, man, don't even try it. You don't know how bad I wanted to tell him. Not only did I do those 2 robberies you caught me on, but I did a few more. But please don't call me a rapist. I went to trial on the armed robbery. I was supposed to receive drug treatment and lieu of conviction pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 295104. White guy arrested with me, got drug treatment and lieu of conviction. His robbery was reduced to theft. He got out on his own reconnaissance. But then I became indicted for multiple rapes of 3 white women I never saw a day in my life. And that was January 31st, 1986. I went to trial on my birthday, December 15th, 1986. We're going to give you something to remember all your life, Negro. 4 days later, the judge told me to stand up, Mr. Smith. I hereby sentence you 78 to 190 years for rape. Asked the bailiff, how much time did you get for that armed robbery? 625. How much is that all together, Mr. Prosecutor? 84 to 216. Mr. Smith, I hereby sentence you 84 to 216 years. Carry your black ass to prison. Take good care of yourself. You hear? As soon as I got to prison, I picked up a book.
What went through your mind when you heard that sentence?
I cried like a baby when I was sentenced 625 for robbery because I know all the people that I had hurt and that I was wrong. I felt terribly bad for having robbed all the different people that I robbed in the community. By the time I got to trial for the rapes, I had already been in the penitentiary. And all the brothers in there had already started educating me. I had started studying history. One of the brothers asked me, did I know what the 13th Amendment of the Constitution was? And I did not know. When I went and looked it up, it wasn't what they taught me in civics or social studies in the 5th grade of elementary school. What they taught us in school was that Abraham Lincoln wrote the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863 and then amended the Constitution in 1865, freeing all black people from slavery. That's what we were taught. But what I learned, and took me to go to prison to learn, which is why we got to get out and teach these babies, because if we start teaching black babies by the time they're 5, that the Constitution says we were all free from slavery unless we are arrested and convicted of a crime.
Right.
Now, when I read that, it says that I'm a slave all over again.
That's exactly right. So slavery did not end.
It's never ended. And our prison system is full of slaves. And if we start teaching our babies that history, I think it will make the world of difference. So by the time the judge sentenced me, I already knew what I was preparing to deal with. I already knew that I was going to be found guilty. I already knew that I was in a fight for my life.
So you had accepted it pretty much at that point and say, okay, but you were going back pretty much with your brothers and with your because you had already had a relationship, so you already knew everyone. This was almost like a life sentence. How in the world did you come up with the idea of DNA testing?
We don't read. Malcolm X said, put it in a book if you want to hide it from a black man.
Yes, he did.
And this is very, very serious, what I'm about to say, my brother. We do not read. Black people.
No, we do not.
Black people are afraid of history. You've heard Negroes say, forget about it. Why do you keep bringing up your past? Well, I'm going to just use a couple of examples. I don't know about you, but whenever I buy a used car, the first thing I want to know is its history. If I were to buy a used home, or when I was looking for homes, I want to know the history. I want to know if the basement was wet. I want to know if it had a leaking problem. I want to know if any major plumbing has ever been done. When I go to the doctor want to know about my mother's history. The doctor want to know about my father's history. I just heard Dr. Jerry Gould say that on your show just last night.
That's right.
The doctor want to know our history because he cannot begin to prepare me for my future in terms of medicine if we don't have an idea of the diseases that my parents and my grandparents and my great-grandparents had. But black people, I talk to people in the community in the gym, for instance. I'll find a sister or a brother and start talking about history, and they look at me with this thing in their eyes. And I've even had sisters particularly say, I don't want to know nothing about it because it's too painful. That's what crippled us. Jewish people make sure their babies know their history. So it took me to go to prison and my grandmother, who planted the seed in me in 1984, because she set me down and taught me my history all the way back to my great-great-great-great-grandfather, who was a slave. Yeah. So when I got to prison and the brothers started teaching me the history, and they taught me the 13th Amendment of the Constitution, and they gave me the autobiography on Malcolm X. That was the first book I read on black African history from cover to cover. That's when I started making my transition.
Wow. All right, so this is absolutely amazing. When did you? Now, it was Jerry Revish.
Jerry Revish.
Revish, excuse
yes,
me.
by the way, you did ask me when did I discover DNA testing, so I'll get to that. Now that I'm in books, and this is again why it's so important for us to read. See, I don't have magic dust to fix us to sprinkle on the black community. Mm-hmm. And neither did somebody sprinkle magic dust on me. I went to the law library and my hand to God. The first book I ever touched in the law library, I opened it up. On about the 5th case, it was a case called State versus Aponovich. It was a murder rape case. One of the dissenting judges, that's the judge who disagreed with the other judges, he said all the elements proved that the person committed a capital offense in killing the victim, so he will be put to death. However, we failed to prove whether he was the depositor of the semen that was retracted from the vaginal cavity of the victim. He said there's 6 different tests that the system could have run on the sample that was recovered from the vaginal cavity of the victim. Reading now, watch this, brother. The 6th test was called deoxyribonucleic acid. That was 1987 when I read about DNA testing. When I read about DNA testing, Hugh Downs and Barbara Walters did a story on it a few weeks later on 2020. I wrote 2020 and got the transcript. So now every place I can go to find out about deoxyribonucleic acid, I'm going. Then a few more stories came on the news and were in magazines, and that's when I filed my motion, September 13th, 1988, asking for DNA testing to let me out of prison. But it was reading that got me there.
And you were denied 8 times?
I was denied 9 times over 8 years. The court system denied me. Then Jerry Revish, who was a media person. I remember seeing Jerry when I first moved to Columbus, Ohio in '89 as a foot soldier. That's what they called him.
How did he knew your story, obviously, because obviously your story was in the news.
I wrote 500 media people before one said yes.
Wow.
I wrote 500 attorneys before a law firm, Marshall Milhorn out of Toledo, Ohio, said that they would represent me. But Jerry Revish flew down on a helicopter. He said, if you got proof that they removed blood and saliva from your body, I'll come and see you. And when he came and saw me, I put a couple of things in front of him. He said, they railroad you, man, and I'm going to get you out. Jerry Revish went into a warehouse and found the samples. And that's how I got out of prison. It was the work of a black man, a strong black man. Because I don't see a Negro in black media nowhere in this country that would do what Jerry Revish did for me. Because most of them don't give me 5 minutes of their time. His brother went into a warehouse on his own time, and he found a bag with my name on it that contained DNA from 2 of the rape victims. That's how I got out. Had it not been for that one man, which is my guardian angel to this day, I would still be languishing away in the penitentiary, because the people that are hardest on those of us that come out of prison ain't a white man. It's a black man.
Love that. Please talk to me about that, because this is what Dr. Joy DeGruy and many of the shows that I do talk about. And it is airing our dirty laundry, but it needs to come out and it needs to be told, especially from this perspective. And that is, we, because of our post-traumatic slave syndrome, we harm ourselves and each other more than any institutionalized racism or white person possibly could. Now, you and I have had offline conversations about, and I was shocked, because as I said at the beginning of the show, you should be on every show. Your story is what movies are made of. Your story is the American dream. It's the hero's journey. It's going through complete and total hell, and then coming out on the other end, enlightened, empowered, and being able to transform other people's lives. You told me you couldn't. Nobody's even returning your emails, calls, or anything from not just traditional media, but black media as well. I found that shocking.
Any black man that is in a position of prominence in America, with a massive voice in America, I've met face to face. I've gone at my own expenses, traveling all over the country. Or if they happen to come through Columbus, I make sure they know who I am. I give them stuff right in their hand. Our economic situation is no different now than it was during slavery and Reconstruction. We earned 0.5% of the national wealth when we were enslaved. In other words, even though many of us were enslaved, a lot of us did extremely well, even during slavery, if we study history. Our condition has not changed because our way of thinking has not changed. We still have a slave mentality. We are fragmented. When a lot of Negroes have been accepted by the white establishment in America, rather than reaching back and bringing another brother and giving credence to this brother and his accomplishments because it will help the rest of us, you cannot have success in the universe without a 360-degree circle. We cannot have a baby with a 45-degree angle. We cannot have a baby with 180 degrees. We have to have 180 degrees from the man and 180 degrees from the woman to make a baby come on this planet. Well, it's the same thing with success. We cannot succeed as a people if we don't do the complete 360. So when a lot of brothers with their 45 degrees of success, or 108 or 90 degrees of success, or 180 degrees of success, when they get where they're at, And if they don't reach back and pull one of us with them, or 10 of us, because scripture says one man can take 1,000 to flight, but two take 10. So if two take 10, then 3 of us will take 50. 4 of us will take 100. 5 of us will take 200. 10 of us will take 1,000,000. But we don't do that. We're fragmented because it's all about I. The only place success comes before work is in the dictionary. So the Negroes that are in high positions and the black faces in high places throughout America, not all of them, but most of the ones that I have met, I prepared myself to deal with racism when I came out of prison. I did not prepare myself to deal with classism. So we suffer from the same thing we suffered from during slavery. Negro, I got mine. You get yours. Instead of us locking our elbows together, which is something that I learned in prison, we practice the 7 principles of the Nguzo Saba, which was created by Milano Ron Karinga. The first principle of the 7 principles is called emoji, unity. Strive for and maintain unity in the family, nation, and community and the race. Kujalak Shagalia, self-determination to define ourselves, name ourselves, speak for ourselves instead of being defined and spoken for by others. We learned it word for word. And we should be able to lock elbows with those of us that have made it to the top. You're supposed to take me, who's gone through these trenches of hell. I've gone to hell and back. Brother, I was below rock bottom. I was reaching for the top of the bottom. I didn't just hit rock bottom. I went way below rock bottom. And when I finally got a hold to it, Jerry Reddish reached back and he pulled me through. Well, Jerry Reddish can't keep pulling Walter Smith through. These other brothers are supposed to embrace me, because that's how we treat us. And one more point I want to make on that. Those of us that have been in the system, those of us that are out there that are shooters, because I've had guns pulled on me. See, I'm a street soldier. I've gone out in the streets and met the gangsters. I've had 3 of them pull guns on me. And I thought one was going to kill me because I talked the other 2 down. We are the maggots of our society because our own people don't embrace us. The number one human resource entity that discriminates against a black man that's been to prison is a black HR person. So we hold the gate for the master better than the master will hold the gate for us. We will not let another Negro in because I got mine. And ain't nowhere in hell I'm going to spoil what I got by bringing another Negro whose shine might be better than mine. Ain't going to do it. And I'm not one of those kind of Negroes.
As well as I am not as well. And that's why we love each other, and that's why you're on this show. Listen, man, I interviewed, I had Freeway Ricky Ross on the show a couple of times.
I met Freeway Ricky Ross. Yes. One of his confidants and I were the ones that were doing the street work here in Columbus, Ohio. We were the ones going out in the streets together side by side, Sean Stevenson. He did 20 with Freeway Ricky Ross, and that's how I met him.
Nice. When I heard his story, and then I heard your story, I said, why are we not hearing these stories on a national level? The people who have gone through the most in life, in my opinion, are the ones who are truly the experts of and in life. It's like, I don't want, if I ever, God forbid, have to have brain surgery, I want someone that has gone through all the academia, all of the necessary training to know every aspect of the brain so that I know I'm in the best hands. If I ever, God forbid, go through anything close to what you have gone through, I know I can pick up the phone and call you and say, brother, this is what I'm going through. Have you been here? What do I do, and how do I do it, and how do I navigate my life? When you were in prison, you got your mind right, but you also did 2 other things. You got your body right.
Bingo.
And you got your message right. You became, by default, in my opinion, one of the greatest motivational speakers of our time. Walk me through and walk us through the transition of after you start feeding your mind with knowledge, wisdom, and information, after you create a community, a brotherhood where you lock elbows and lock arms, and you find out who you are, how did you then begin to train your body, and after training your mind, and then train your speech to be able to speak your truth and change lives instantaneously as a result?
Well, first of all, our nation is one that's full of hypocrites. And I say that because this is supposed to be a Christian nation. And one of the major tenets of Christianity is forgiveness. We don't forgive.
No, we don't forgive.
Yeah.
We sure don't forget, but we definitely don't forget.
Because if we did, like you say, brother, I'd be all over the place. Another thing is crime, victimization, and incarceration. Mass incarceration is major business. So really, we're not trying to fix it. And a lot of the so-called black leaders understand those dynamics, because as long as we keep calling on them every time one of our black men get killed, we don't want to fix the problem because we'll stop making money on it.
That's right.
That's the real and that's the raw. So while I was incarcerated, and this is the simple formula to fixing our babies. Watch this, brother. We don't have physical fitness in most schools no more. We are a physical creature. Our bodies are designed to walk. So if we don't have an apparatus in all of our lives to discipline those necessities, reading is a discipline. Researching is a discipline. Losing weight is a discipline. Gaining weight is a discipline. Education is a discipline. If we do not proliferate those disciplines in our lives, if we do not practice those disciplines, that's what penitentiary did for me. So from a Christian perspective, all praise be to God, I was thrust into the devil's belly, or the whale's belly, or the lion's den, to find out that my faith in God will get me through any storm, and in doing so, I will be polished to come out and save our babies, because I've gone through the pits of hell, and now I am in the pinnacle of redemption. You have to go through the pits of hell in order to save the rest of us, okay? So in prison, the first thing that I learned is by taking care of my body, it improved my mind. By taking care of my mind, it improved my body. My first workout in prison was April 26, 1986. My last workout in prison was October 24th, 1996. I stepped out of prison and 5 months later won my first overall bodybuilding championship. I have read the Bible cover to cover 16 times in my life. I've read the Holy Quran cover to cover, and I'm on it now for the 15th time in my life. And I continue to complete that cycle over and over again. One of the other problems that I found when I got to prison is we pray too damn much.
Nice. Let's talk about that. Wow, I never heard that. Please.
Well, the reason I want to be careful about that is sometimes it ain't right to pray. If you run up on me with a stick and you're going to hit me upside my head, I'm not going to drop on my knees and say, oh, God, please protect me. No, I'm going to take your ass out. Are you with me? So if we start...
I'm totally with you.
Well, if we start seeing things as a matter of urgency, get up off our knees, because, man, listen, enough people have prayed. My grandmother prayed. All my great-grandfathers have prayed. Enough people have prayed for any blessings that I'm going to receive. I have prayed. I have had and still have them calluses on my knees. I pray daily. But we have to balance and rhythm our lives out. We cannot keep praying. We have to pray. But if we start seeing some things in our lives as a matter of urgency, in other words, we need to get on it yesterday. And when I pray, brother, I don't close my damn eyes.
Nice.
You're not going to walk up on me and hit me with wrongful incarceration again. I don't put alcoholic substance in my body anymore. I do not put drugs in my body anymore. You will not catch me drinking or sleeping anymore. The only thing come to a sleeper is a dream. Nice. So I don't do them no more. So when I say that we pray too much, I'm not saying that we should not pray, but we need to balance it out. I pray in private. I'm not big on public prayer. I have a sanctuary in my home that's just for me. It's just for me to communicate with God and for God to talk with me. And then when I walk out into these streets, my job is to get stuff done. Not just talk about it, but I be about it. So that's what prison did for me. I learned how to balance out and make rhythm in my body to get stuff done and to repair the work out in our community. The mayor of Columbus, Ohio recognized that talent in me, Mayor Michael B. Coleman, who ran our city exceptionally well for 16 years. He called me to a summit meeting on Martin Luther King Jr. birthday, January 15th in 2006, and asked me to be a part of the city's movement to reduce the homicides. I spoke for 7 minutes in Radio 1, Kathy Hughes' own station. Paul Strong was at that meeting, and him and the mayor said that I needed to be on radio. I went on radio July 2006. We set it as a goal on January 1 in 2007 to reduce the homicides. We successfully reduced the homicides in Columbus, Ohio to the lowest number they've seen in 15 years. Me and my former felon partner when we came on radio. And here's how we did it, my brother. The gangsters ain't had another one of our voices nowhere on radio or TV, nowhere to listen to, because we are the maggots of the earth. We just keep on fermenting and multiplying the stuff that we do. And here's a perfect example to prove my point. Take 2 mice and put them in a 4-acre cornfield. When they see each other, because that's our society, they got gainful employment, they are supported by the church, they're supported by the black brethren, they're supported by white America. We got plenty for everybody. We happy. I see that other mouse. I wave at him, he wave at me. But here's what happened to those of us that have been incarcerated. If it's not a mother's baby, don't nobody else give a damn about us. And my mother cared about me. That's why I took care of her the last 6 years of her life with dementia and Alzheimer's. We're going to take those same 2 mice and we're going to put them in a 4x4 cage. We're not going to feed those mice for 4 weeks. We're going to hold a kernel of corn over them for 4 weeks. We're going to drop that kernel of corn down in between them. When you've starved like that and you've been rejected by the rest of society, you don't have time to think about what's going on around you. When that kernel of corn falls down between us, one of them mice is going to die. That's why we kill each other, because we've been rejected. So when I get on the radio, and this is how my spiel kind of went on a Sunday, this is your host with the most, coming at you every Sunday night on Street Soldiers, 7 p.m. to 9. A former gangster, former thug, a former dope dealer. Brothers, we got to stop killing one another. It's called fratricide. Fratricide. A brother killing another brother. Call somebody, email somebody, text somebody, get that gangster to listen to us on Street Soldiers. Watch this. And then when they listen to me on the radio, I'm a former gangster just like you. We got to stop killing one another. If a Negro owes you $1,000 for a dope deal that went bad, if you kill his punk ass, you don't never get your money. Get me my money and stop killing one another. It's just that simple. It's not the message, it's the messenger. We reverse the script. It's the former gangster because we're the maggot of the earth. Give one of us a platform like you've given me today, and hopefully a gangster's listening, and he will understand that if he too go and study the dictionary like I did from cover to cover like Malcolm X did, he too will know if he read my book like I read the autobiography of Malcolm X, and my book, by the way, is written on a 6th grade level, so ain't no excuses. If he do that, and then he read Dr. Jerry Leary's book, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, he read Michelle Alexander's book, The New Jim Crow, he read Malcolm X's autobiography on Malcolm X, he read my book, that brother would be palatable to come back out here and fix stuff in a way to where he doesn't go to the penitentiary and he'll save the babies behind him.
And there it is. This is why, there was many reasons why I wanted you on the show. But one of the reasons was, as I've been doing so much work and research, I said, I know for a fact that there is family and freedom after being convicted as a felon. And we also know, because of the 13th Amendment, what happens when you are labeled a felon, even after you come, even if you get out, what you have to go through and grow through. You have been able to do it and are doing it exceptionally well, which is why you're, in my opinion, the role model of role models for this particular space and type of work. What is it that caused you to say, I'm going to write a book and I am going to speak and train around the country, and that I'm going to launch Emancipated Against All Odds? What drove you to do that? Because you had, in my opinion, accomplished quite a bit already. You could have just kind of chilled out. You're out, you got a good life, you're a pro bodybuilder, you're doing great. You wanted to take it a step further. Why?
One man can take 1,000 to flight, 2 take 10. I cannot reach in my lifetime all the people who can benefit from my message, but my book can. My book is sold, if people call me, even people that are close to me that I even mention in the book have not bought my book because that's how we've been conditioned. But we'll go out and buy DVDs. We'll go out and get our nails done. We'll go out and get our bag of weed and our Cavassier or Hennessy for the weekend. We'll go out and buy, eat at McDonald's food that is killing us. I still eat at McDonald's, but it's a matter of how you balance that out. So I don't want to cast a negative aspersion on McDonald's. I only mention McDonald's because it's the #1 restaurant in the world. And it's not necessarily the most nutritional food. But we will go and spend money on all these other things, but we will not support another Negro because our mind says that Negro ain't going to get successful off of my money. Looking at the quality of the book.
So there's two parts of that. That's very true. And the other part of that is that it's a book.
It's a book. Absolutely, we don't read.
So those are the two things. That's a good point that you bring up. Those are two things that are right now the #1 hindrance of us moving forward is that we don't read and we don't want to support
absolutely
another black person.
When we go into Walmart and buy a DVD, because I've been in people's homes where their whole wall is covered with DVDs. I've been in people's homes where I've been to consult them on their finances, and they probably have, I'm going to say, a modest $1,000 invested in DVDs on their wall. If they had taken that same $1,000 and put it in a money market program and left it there for 50 years, that same $1,000 would multiply to the tune of at least $20,000 over 30, 40 years. See? Okay, so when it comes to supporting what Walter Smith does, my books retail for $14 on Amazon or on my website. But if you call me and you really want a book, I will let a person have my book just above my cost, or you buy multiple books, because for Christmas presents, for Halloween, for Easter, for all these things we go out in corporate America and spend our dollars on, but that does not necessarily give us a return on our investment. We don't question them and they're getting success and their babies going to the best universities in the world and they have everything that they have to live comfortably. But when they know that that dollar will help Walter Smith in the least bit, we will not do it. Another good point is this. From the 6th to the 8th grade, black males, only 10% of black males read on grade level. We cannot win with that many of our babies, or a percentage of our babies not able to comprehend the English language and be able to interpret things that are written in this country. We are destined to go straight to the penitentiary, and the people that work in the system will always benefit from us. The same grade level, 6th to the 8th grade, white males, 47% of them read at grade level. Where white people can succeed and continue to own and benefit their babies by being able to read. When baby boomers die, and I'm part of that generation, we leave debt for our babies. When white baby boomers die in our generation, they leave over $7 trillion to their babies. And it's all because we don't read. And one of the reasons we don't read is because the babies don't see the parents read. If the parents don't read, because 80% of what people learn, we learn from what we see, and 70% of the time we duplicate, imitate, and replicate what we see our predecessors do. If the babies don't see the parents read, then damn it, we're not going to read either. Thus, we keep producing these little shooters, and those of us that are either going to get killed. The #1 killer of a black male from 16 to 34 is another black man. The #1 killer of a black woman between the age of 24 and 34 is a black man coming out of prison with AIDS. So we don't start training our babies, which is why we're going to come up with the street soldier starter kit. If we don't start teaching our babies to read at 3, if everybody that knows me is listening to this is not calling me when I get off to buy my book and give it away if they're too lazy to read it. If we don't start doing something to start a reading revolution with our babies, because all the leaders that I have examined since I've been free 19 years, we really ain't trying to fix the problem, because if we were, you'd have to get part of the problem and thrust us out here. Good example. Brother, if I come out to where you are right now and disconnect the negative side of your battery to your car, will your car start? Of course not. Of course not. We've got to have negative in order to have a 360. Other people do
very wise, yes.
Yes, until other people do as you have done, by putting me and people like Rick Ross on national TV, and we make a desperate crowd of young brothers in Chicago. Every time we have a lot of national attention in Chicago, I call the mayor's office, I call the governor's office, I call the police department, I call the radio station, and they all tell me to put it in writing and send it to them. Damn it, it's a matter of urgency. That's the stuff they taught you in your universities. Well, I'm a proud graduate of mandatory university in the USA. I have a doctorate in pain and suffering and a master's in streetology. Our teaching tells us that we treat things as a matter of urgency. Okay, if you put us on the radio in Chicago and you promote it right by telling gangsters to listen to another gangster, a percentage of them will put their guns down the same way we had them do in Columbus, Ohio.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. All right. So, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a series of this with you because there's a lot of information to share, a lot of processes and power to share. What I do want people to be able to do is know how to get in contact with you. Give us your web address, where they can go and get the book, where you're going to be speaking next. Just give us everything, Walter D. Smith.
Thank you so much. The best way to reach me is via my website, which is my name, walterdsmith.com. You got to put the D. That's my middle initial. Walter D as in David. walterdsmith.com. My email address is streetsoldierwbs@gmail.com. That's street soldier plural WBS, my initials, at Gmail. Walter D. Smith at street soldier WBS@gmail.com. My telephone number, my business number, my cell number, the number I carry on my hip is 614-570-1906, 614-570-1906. Unfortunately, the next couple places that I'll be speaking, can't nobody come because I'll be speaking in prisons. And that's where I make earn most of my income at, is in prisons. However, I will let people know when I'll be speaking out here in the community, and by far people can come and see me. And what I want to emphatically ask is, if anybody's listening to me that's in another part of the country, please contact me and we will put together a mechanism for me to get to your community and allow me to speak, because I have things in place. If people don't honestly have the money, and I'll give you another good example, my brother. I have been places and spoke. And then when I'm out after speaking, having dinner with the people that hosted me, and people get a couple of drinks in there, and this always happens because I don't drink. Then they let me know that the person that also spoke, that was the keynote address, I did a much better job than them. They got paid $3,000, and I'm there working for free. So I like to be paid if you got the money. But if you don't have the money, and you be honest with me, and you're supposed to be a Christian, you can lie and use me all you want. But I can guarantee you, when you get to the pearly gates and God have me at the gate to check you in, you might not make it to your seat. You might have to go to hell and pay me. See? So we have to respect those of us that are trying to do the right thing. If you got the money, pay me. If you don't, let's talk and we'll figure out a way to get me to your community, because my mission is to save babies.
Here's what I want you to do before we leave. Because this is now going to be on YouTube. We're going to send this everywhere. To our children out there that are struggling with drugs or selling drugs, or both. They see this show. What can they do? Are they supposed to pick up the phone and call you? What will be the Walter D. Smith experience when they pick up that phone and they call you or send you an email? What are they going to receive on the other end?
I would love for them to contact me. And then immediately, any minor that does, I will insist that I speak with their parent immediately. But the advice that I would give them is to don't smoke cigarettes, do not use drugs, and give yourself a chance, and avoid sex until you at least turn 18. Those are the first immediates that I will give them. Reading will teach you anything you need to know and take you anywhere you need to go. Most importantly, respect yourself. Give yourself a chance. Respect yourself. And when you respect yourself, you won't let peer pressure have somebody offer you heroin, offer you a cigarette, offer you alcohol. When you respect yourself and know that all you have to do in America is get a good education, at least respect yourself if your mother and father, if your daddy is not at home. Because a lot of the work that I do in audiences of 25 that I'm having lately. I've had children in audiences of 25, both male and female, where the biological father is not in any of their homes. Mm-hmm. That's a major problem. Then in some of their homes, the mother's got 9 babies and she's addicted to crack. Despite all of that, you can make it through. Give yourself a chance. You see what you're dealing with, and that's real. Pick up a book and get a good education. Once the parent get on the phone with me, I will do whatever I can to get my book to them, which goes back to something you said earlier. It took me 9 years to write this book because I wanted my book to be an uptick to Malcolm X's autobiography. Since Malcolm X, I don't know of no other person that's been incarcerated that has national recognition. It is my calling to be a protege of Malcolm because I can never be as great as Malcolm. So with that, I'm saying I had to go to prison like Malcolm. I had to educate myself like Malcolm. I had to read Malcolm's stories, and I had to transform myself and reform myself as Malcolm X did, and contemporaneously provide a tool, which is my book, for any child that is 12 years and up can read. And if they read the book, or providing they read the book cover to cover, there's something in there that they will connect with and will make them a better person.
Fantastic. And lastly, today, as we are recording this show, literally moments before we went live, you and I found out that we lost one of our icons.
Yes.
In music, in life, the soundtrack of my life, especially of my young adult years, the soundtrack of my life, died this morning, and that was Prince.
Yes.
And I come to find out that you were and are, because you never stopped being, a Prince fan as well. Walk me through. You said when you travel, that's who you listen to all the time. Talk to me about the impact Prince has made on your life.
If I don't carry no other CD with me, I'm very distracted right about now.
I'm looking at you like, yep.
You know me very well. If I don't carry no other CD with me when I travel, because all I listen to is motivational tapes. Mm-hmm. When I need a break from motivation and inspirational tapes, if there's no other CD that goes anywhere with me, it's at least 3 different CDs of Prince. I think that Prince was the most talented artist of my time. I love Michael Jackson, and he was great, but Prince to me was another Marvin Gaye. Prince wrote his music, he played all his music, he sung all his music, and he performed extremely well. When I went through my drug addiction, it was the Purple Rain album that I would just lose it on. So even when I came out, because I can't blame none of that on Prince, that was all on me. I went and seen Prince about 4 times before I went to prison. I loved me some Prince. So I got the news that Prince had died about 3 minutes before you called me. And I had to hold up on getting with you to post on Facebook that Prince had died. So he will be missed, and I loved him dearly. The brother was so talented.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, my brother. Well, Walter D. Smith, ladies and gentlemen. The book is Street Soldier. It's the autobiography of his life. This man is amazing. This man should be nationally and internationally known. I am so honored, so blessed that he reached out to me and I reached back. And I love you, and I want you to come back on the show. Just say that.
You come back on the show, brother. I love you, and I thank you for this opportunity. This is the first time I've had a chance to be on any medium since I was removed from radio in 2012. And I'm honored, I'm grateful, because since 2012, I have noticed that we have a lot of comedians on radio. I love comedians. I travel all over the country to see our great comedians perform because I need a break. But we don't have enough conscious people like yourself. We don't have enough radio airspace for people with a good message that you and I have to bring. Because if the babies are conditioned to listen to us, especially on radio, to take a break, I'm honored when I run into children who listen to Street Soldiers and they tell me. When I used to listen to your show, I used to get so upset because I wouldn't hear no music and turn it off. But now that I've gotten older, I'm so glad that I listened to you on Street Soldiers.
Mm.
We need to continually reach out to the babies, and people like myself need to be given an opportunity to reach the masses if we genuinely care about those of us incarcerated. And again, brother, a statistic we don't often hear. Not only do the 2.5 to 2.7 million people incarcerated, which represent 47% of the black population, not only is that statistic prevalent, but in the criminal justice system, from the jail to probation to parole, there's 7 million of us in the system. We have 50,000 to 700,000 of us going in the system annually, and 650 to 700,000 coming out. So the 2.7 million of us that are incarcerated is only a fraction of those of us that are accosted by the system. 1 in 3 black men is going to prison in America. We need to change that. 1 out of 5 people that come out of prison is an American, or 1 out of 5 people in America will go through the prison experience. We need to reduce that a number immediately, which is again why I wrote Street Soldiers. We need to start a reading revolution, and I thank you for giving me the format to launch that today.
You got it, my brother. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Philippe Matthews Show After Hours, Walter D. Smith, we thank you so much for tuning in and watching wherever you are around the world. Here's what I need you guys to do, and that is that I need you to share this one. This one I want you to share and send to your friends, send to family members, send to anybody you know that might be struggling, that's in the system, somebody that's struggling with drugs, on drugs, selling drugs. Just let them watch the show. Just, on your phone, just, click it on, share it, and let them hear the truth of a man who has been there, who has done it, who has lived it. We thank you for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.